Hey guys, I'm Gio.
And I'm Mr. Onion.
Today we're starting our series on how to play Protoss. I'm currently a Master Zerg player. I'm going to be coaching my friend Mr. Onion. Tell us about your current experience in StarCraft 2.
Alright, I'm currently a bronze player on the 1v1 ladder. I've played about 20 games altogether and won 10 of them.
In this series, we're going to be going over build orders that are appropriate for each league. They're going to be challenging for you, but they're not going to be overwhelming. The thing is, the builds that you're going to be learning for each league aren't going to be very viable later on in the later leagues. So it brings us into our first build. Hey guys, today we're going to be learning how to beat bronze people. Person playing the game is Mr. Onion. He's with Bronzy, and he's going to go as far as he can through all the leagues. He's going to start by doing a one-base build, because he doesn't know how to play, and it's a good starting point. A lot of people preach macro on Team Liquid, and in the StarCraft community in general, making a lot of stuff and winning. We're basically going to be doing that, but we're just going to do it off of one base with a big push at 9 minutes. That's our goal, that's our whole game plan. So if Mr. Onion's any good, he's going to be pushing up with 70 food at 9 minutes. We're just making immortals and sentries, mostly. And you're going to be doing the same thing against any race. You want to say hi, Mr. Onion?
Hello, everyone.
So for this build, it's important, especially if you're in bronze, not to worry about the timings, or the food timings for things, because you're not going to be making stuff at the exact food mark ever in a game until you get further on down the leagues. For the first pylon, you can build at 9, and then your first gateway goes down at 13, because that's just when you can afford them. You're going to be chrono boosting your nexus and making probes all the while. The only real numbers you need to think of are things to remember are when you drop your first pylon, your gateway, and then your simulators are kind of timed by the food count at 15 and 25. But besides that, everything else is going to be based on other triggers and timings to make it easier to remember. Which is really the way you should play anyway. Because if later down the line you can't have a food count build all the way throughout 3 bases of play, because at some point you're going to get attacked and the food count's going to change and then your whole build's going to get slowed down or messed up. So nothing's happened so far besides the gateway and the simulator. The cybercore goes down right after gateway, because the cybercore, that's part of the tech tree. You can't make it any earlier than that. The units you're going to be pumping out of your first gateway are going to be a zealot, a stalker, and a sentry. Just one of each unit. And then after that, you're going to have to wait until you have your 3 gateways down to make more units. Your goal is to have 3 to 4 production buildings per base. And since we're on one base, we're only going to need 3 gateways and 1 robo. The mortals are going to come out of the robobay, and our stalkers and stuff are going to come out of the gateways. It doesn't matter what units we make. They're all going to be fine against the people we're up against. We're not going to be worrying about unit counters until Silver or Gold League, probably Gold League. Also, at some point we're going to be making too many probes for the amount of mineral patches we have, but we're not worried about that. Because pushing it at 9 minutes, we might be a little bit oversaturated, but that isn't an issue for us. As you can see, Mr. Onion, he started by chrono boosting his nexus to get probes out, and now he's switched over, and now he's chrono boosting the cybercore. This is going to make it so that once the warpgate tech's finished, he's going to have his gateways finished right after that. And you time that by dropping the additional 2 gateways right when the warpgate research is halfway done. This robobay is going down just at the right time. Right when warpgate tech finishes, that's when you drop your robobay. So like I said earlier, the only real timings you're going to have are 15 and 25 for your gas. And besides that, everything is going to be coming through on your gateways and your cybercore and your robobay are based on your warpgate tech research. So when it's halfway done, you drop additional 2 gateways, and then when it's all the way done, you drop your robobay. Another important point to make is that you should be going through a cycle in your head. Every time you should be focusing on making probes. You can queue up 2, that's perfectly fine. It's bad to queue up more than 2 because you're going to have wasted minerals, but queuing up 2 is going to guarantee you're always producing them. You're never going to fall behind. Because if you forget a little, like a few seconds on each one, you're going to be behind by a lot. After you check your probes to make sure you have 2 queued, you can check your warp gates to make sure they are warping in and that they're not on cooldown. When you do a warp in, drop a pylon. When you start an immortal, drop a pylon. If you get food blocks because you made too much stuff and you forgot a pylon, drop a pylon. This way you're never going to be supply blocks at all during a game. And this concept is the basis for not getting supply blocked when you're on more than one base too. You just double it. But right now we're not going to be worrying about expanding, we're just worried about our 9-minute push. It's important that we have a 9-minute push because it's going to give structure to our play. We're going to know that we can feel confident knowing that this is what we're going to do. We're going to push out and win. There's no scout timings. We're not worried about holding the watchtowers. We don't need to hold the watchtowers because if he's coming with stuff, we're not going to be force fielding the front because we don't have any micro. We're just focused on making units, making sure we don't get supply blocks, and making sure that we always make probes. And as you can see, at 9 minutes, he's pushing out 76 food. So this is a really strong push. This is good macro. This push is going to beat most people in Bronze League. The reason for this is because a lot of Bronze people, they can't keep up making probes, they can't keep up making army, all the while they're trying to expand onto 2 bases where they can do even less work. It's hard enough for them just to work on 1 base. A lot of enemies in Bronze, they might do some cheesy stuff like Look Banshees or fast DTs or Reaper Rushes. None of that's an issue, because if he does some sort of high-tech, fast-teching, cheesy kind of build, it's not going to matter. You're just going to push and win at that point. So this is our build that we're going to be using to get out of Bronze.
Alright guys, here's an example of me using this build on the ladder. Thanks for watching.